This is the writing game, and I'm Gregory Plagey. A fresh piece of paper, a blank screen with a cursor blinking, or an open field. Each has so much potential, and each means so much is possible that it's downright scary. Creating something when prompted with a blank canvas can be paralyzing. All that choice can lead to not making any decisions, not actually creating something. That's why we have rules, languages, stories, games. Each have their own rules, sometimes called constraints, other times compromises. It's within those rules that we can find a possibility space that has just as much potential as one without any, if not more. Here on the writing game, we'll examine how the rules of language, stories, and video games can be used together to write and make more interesting projects. In essence, this video series and podcast is about storytelling and narrative design. Throughout this series, we'll look at how resources like the hero's journey, the story grid by Shawn Coyne, the 4 layers approach developed by Frictional Games, and other methods can be incorporated into writing for games. The writing game is a chance for me to share my thoughts as I look at what makes for compelling stories and equally compelling games, as I attempt to make both. It's by no means meant to be a comprehensive how-to guide for writing for games, but it's my examination, my expression of my thoughts as I go through this process and share them with you. After all, every story, every game has its own requirements, its own constraints or compromises that only the creators know of. So while there will inevitably be some examination of others' work, it's never to say I could do better, because there's no way that's true. I simply don't know what was required of particular creators. That said, critiquing work you like and don't like is a necessary step in learning to create and improve your own work. Something I didn't appreciate in high school, and my English teachers would be laughing to hear me now. This series will occasionally look at not just video games, but TV shows, films, books, and other narratives in an effort to examine how they tell their stories, how they work within the constraints of their mediums, and the rules that apply there. It's all a really boring way of saying, I don't intend to offend, but I do hope to inform and entertain. After all, this series was inspired by, in no particular order, the podcast of the Idle Thumbs Network, the video series Game Maker's Toolkit, the Bithell Games podcast, Mark Bernardin, the Script Block podcast, I Should Be Writing, and many, many others. Too many, in fact, to name and remain cogent and entertaining. But you'll find a list of inspiration on the Third Culture Kids website. The writing game will be released every other week as both a video version and a podcast. If you want to talk to me about writing, games, or even you want to work with me, you can find me on Twitter at OneGameDad or visit my website, onegamedad.com. Both this video series and podcast are hosted by Third Culture Kids and are produced by me, Gregory Plagey. Third Culture Kids can be found at thirdculturekids.net. And be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review. Share it with your friends, family, and colleagues. And thank you for watching and listening. I hope you enjoy the show.